Hey everybody, Model Man here on construction day 3, I think, of the paint booth. Last night I was a little bored, so I threw in one 15-foot strip of LED tape running all the way around both sides and then looping here and running back again. I'm going to put a couple dabs of super glue along the edges just to make sure that everything stays there permanently. Otherwise, I am ready to seal up the walls. I've happen to have two spare 22-inch strips of 1x1s, and there'll be a little gap in each of them, but that's okay. What this is going to do is block out the dust from getting in here, or help to ensure blocking out the dust, because I do want to make this a relatively dust-free environment, going so far as to generally keep a sheet of plexiglass over the front. So what I'm going to do is go through all the wood I've got, cut everything I can, install everything I can. There are a number of missing parts still. The floor and the subfloor down here, I'm going to need walls coming up that way to isolate the air compressor and possibly the fan. We'll see how isolated that needs to be. I'm going to take this 36-inch, which was designated as a floor piece, and use that to cover the back there, so I'm going to be short one of them. So one thing I've been realizing is that the filter itself is going to be 1 full inch tall. So that's going to be a little bigger than this, and that doesn't leave any room at all, essentially, between that, the hole in the floor, and, well, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I was thinking I might replace these 1x2s with 1x1s, but if I don't have to, then maybe I just shouldn't bother. I don't know. We'll see. They do have to be custom cut, which is a pain in the butt. So at this point, all the walls are in. They took 9 screws each, 3 on each side. Well, depending on how you count that, of course. I do need to put a little bracing down at the bottom of each of the walls simply to counter that, but the side is pretty solid, so I'm happy about that. This is a good example over here of how far off straight this one, but it works and I'm happy. So with the walls in, I'm going to pull this down on the floor, get the ceiling ready. That's definitely going to remain removable because this thing is freaking heavy. Right now we're looking at half of the ceiling. It's wedged in there real good, so I won't pull it out quite at the moment, but all 4 of those cross beams are screwed into place. Now I'm just going to screw this one in and pull the piece out. Actually, I should probably put the roof on it at this point, maybe. And back at the window fan action, I drew out the circle I needed, took a regular drill bit, drilled dozens and dozens of holes all around, and then basically worked the bit between those, and then used a sanding wheel to get this roughly rounded out. I'm going to go and get myself a tube of caulk, put a seal around this, put a seal around the back, and then how I'm going to put a seal around here, I'm not sure yet. I may just run a bead along the top edges, press it down, and then screw it into place. That's probably the best way to go. Up here is the top, so what's going to happen is the air is going to come through here, bounce against this wall. Any debris that's still in the chute should fall here, and all the air can escape up there. And I made sure to make this hole at least as big, if not bigger, than the 4-inch circle, because I don't want any obstructions going on for the air at all. So next up, some caulk.
There's a lot of dust in here, so I've got my mask on. This is essentially what I did for this little hole here, just on a much bigger scale. So now I'm just going to work the drill through all these points and knock it loose. There's just about 200 holes, 190 something. And, geez, I still got 1 more of these to go.
And here is the fan box temporarily in place. I got to clean the window and the screening out before I permanently install this, but I wanted to get a good look at it. It's kind of difficult to maintain the exposure when it's set on auto exposure, but it fits really nice and tight, and all the little holes in here along the sides and down there, for example, those are for zip ties to hold the fans in. I think this is going to work pretty good. Ah yes, very nice at last. Bottom one's pointing out, because if I'm sitting here I don't want a big breeze blowing directly on me. Top one is blowing in to keep all the hot air off the ceiling. This guy should be ready in several hours. Well, that is, it's ready now, of course, but the caulk itself that's lining all the edges on the inside, you can actually see a little back there, is going to be a few hours to cure. And I'm not going to set up the actual pipe, which is right in there, until I know where it's going to go and the paint booth is all set up and all that. Now, I definitely shouldn't have stuffed that dead pillow and those several t-shirts that I murdered down in there yet, simply because what a freaking mess. I've got to find the brush attachment for the vacuum because it's missing, and it makes things a little easier. Now, in a previous video I was asked about the fan that I was going to use. It's basically the same company that John Bad Grendel's used on his. It's just a different capacity because I've got a different booth size. And this happens to be a 2-speed fan, 293 CFM and 400, somewhere around there, 395, 410, something like that. It weighs about 13 pounds. I've modified it slightly. The top flange, I had to bend that down in order to keep flat, otherwise I would have had to have created a riser for this to sit on and then be attached to the ceiling or the floor, depending on how you look at it. And the other thing I have to consider when I place the ring is how much space the converter there is going to use, the rectangle to circular converter, and then this of course can go anywhere. That's 20 feet of hose. It's right about 2 feet, maybe 3 feet right now. And just like the wall fan, it has a quick connect mount in case I need to, for whatever reason, move the hose easily and quickly. In this case, I'm probably going to have the hose running simply out the front and around the back there. If the booth was angled differently, I'd cut a hole through the wall. Probably get a 4-inch circle cutter at that point, simply because it would be worth it. And then pass it through the wall and so on and so forth. Or get another set of quick connects and do something like that. The compressor is going, the fan is going, which means there's going to be the extra loudness, so the whole thing really needs to be carpeted off. And at that point, if it's the entire thing, then there's not a lot of point to walling any section off, simply because they're going to need ventilation. And I am considering a way to mount a mini fan, this guy right here, up in the corner here or something, just kind of pointing that way to keep the air flowing overall. You know, bounce the air into the corner and then let it scatter from there. I will need to create a front for this in general, simply to keep all the dust and debris out that will naturally accumulate. Whether it's some kind of sliding door, I may just go with like a sheet, a bed sheet for now, curtain kind of thing. And I'll also be curtaining off or blocking off the front of the paint booth, but probably with a sheet of plexiglass to start. So again, as with John Bad Grendel's, I took off the ring here from that piece there. It attaches like this onto the metal. What I'll be doing is flipping it upside down, putting the paint booth on top of this piece when it's flat, and then positioning the ring where it seems to be a good place for it. From there, I'll drill through on all the 8 points, 2, 4, 6, 8 of them, and then I actually have 3 other options as well, those 3 guys right there, but I may be able to drill those from beneath at that point. That's just for a little added extra additional mounting options, and I still have to match the thread for these guys. I don't know what that is offhand. So I'm still hoping this whole thing is going to work, and I still have as yet to power it up or test it. I'm expecting I can just splice an extension cord and touch the leads on this thing and have it work. But I've got a buddy who does, or used to do, electrical work before he retired, so he'll give me some good advice on that. So I'm gonna move along and start setting stuff up, and let's see what happens. Pretty soon it's almost going to be time to start vacuuming and cleaning the rugs up and stuff. This is just about getting close to finished. I got to do the 1x1s on the side of this to lock this into place. I'll either be doing that on the inside of the box or the outside. I haven't figured out which one yet. If I do it inside, that adds to the height of the air filter and everything underneath the pegboard. So we'll see. And now with this bracket there, the one in back, and the one over here in place, this thing is finally square, nice and calm and easy. I'm happy, definitely happy. So at this point there's still these 1x2s to replace, and I was just about to check and see if I actually have some 1x1s around that might work. And positioning, of course, the fan is probably going to be one of the next things, and it looks like that might be the place right there. I was thinking dead center, but it doesn't really need to be. And in fact, the way the fan is set up with the ventilator there, or the converter, I'd probably have to set it very far forward, and I definitely don't want that. Unless I put some kind of blocker here and spread the air out first before it started coming through. So yeah, probably somewhere back here is going to be where it's going to go. Just offset of center. So I think that's a task for another day. We'll see how much more I wind up doing here, but this is definitely a lot. And still the ceiling I gotta do. If I do that today, I may as well, I suppose. It's pretty close to done, but I will have to wire it up at some other point with lights. And here Safety Inspector Bean is just inspecting the quality of the workmanship, and it looks like he's accepting that one so far. However, what a mess. Look at this all over the place. Definitely time for vacuuming, so this may very well be the end of today's work, but I'm very happy to say that all the pile of wood that was here is pretty much gone or turned to scrap. And I'll finally be able to get this, and I'll finally be able to get all this and Bean a nice home. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more. There's probably 2 or 3 more videos in this series. See ya.